I just want to speak the name of Jesus.
Do excuse me if you hear the sound of dripping on the roof. I'm recording this in my caravan. It strikes me the man on the Jericho road might have done a lot better if he travelled in a caravan. Now, in this great drama of the Good Samaritan, there are four main protagonists, and they each have a kind of motto that they live by. And if I'm honest, I see some of each of the four of them in myself. The first is the thief, and his motto is, "What's yours is mine." They represent the takers of the world. The priest says, "What's mine is mine." He represents the keepers of this world. But now we come to the Levite. Now, when I was a young guy, there was a joke I told at a wedding that I would never repeat now. It was about a man who took his wife and his mother-in-law to the game reserve. And on the way back from the ablutions, the mother suddenly found herself face to face with a lion. And the wife said, do something. And the husband said, that lion got himself in this mess, he can get himself out of it. Now the motto of the Levite is, what's yours is yours. You got yourself into this mess, you can get yourself out of it. I'm not taking responsibility. Now there's actually a technical term in business theory for a man like this. He's called an NMR. That's the person who's always saying, not my responsibility. A very unhealthy ethic in a business situation. Now, a Levite is just a slightly less prestigious position than a priest, although he was very highly regarded. He's from the house of Levi, he's from the house of Aaron. He was more of a part-time priest. He had his own job or his own farm, but once a year for a month he would go to the temple and he would assist the priests in their priestly duties. There were those who regarded that as by far the best month of the year. As such, he had access to the Torah, and he knew the Torah very well, and I'm quite sure he knew the story of Cain and Abel, and how God asked Cain, where is your brother? And Cain gave his famous question, am I my brother's keeper? And God's silence in answer to that question speaks volumes. But this Levite had made that decision, I'm not my brother's keeper. And then we come to the Good Samaritan himself, a marvelous man. His life's motto is, what's mine is yours. Now remember that the man he's helping is a Jew and he's a Samaritan, and Jews despise Samaritans. We've said before that to be generous to someone who's like you or someone who likes you is one thing, but to be generous to someone you know despises you, that's quite another thing. But here's a man tremendously open-handed. Now we need to be careful with this parable because it can lead us on a bit of a guilt trip. And guilt is not always a healthy emotion. No calling is ever born out of guilt. True calling always comes from quietness and from compassion. And it's important that we note that this man didn't solve the world's problems. He didn't even solve this man's whole life problems, whatever they may have been. He just helped him with the problem of today. He poured some wine into his wounds as antiseptic. He poured some oil on to soothe the pain. He gave him transport and he took him to a safe place and he paid the expenses. And then he went on his way. He didn't try to solve the world's problems. He didn't join a committee to clean up the crime on the Jericho road. And he certainly never solved the problem of the animosity between Samaritan and Jew. Probably he even made that worse. If that priest and Levite had heard how he had shown them up, they probably would have disliked him even more. And so he doesn't solve the world's problems. We can't solve the world's problems. But the message of the Good Samaritan is, don't do nothing. Keep a space in your life for unexpected neighborliness. And so we get these four different men who live by four different mottos. Lent is a really good time for examining what's within us. And I see all four of these within me. Think of them as four plants. Which one is going to thrive? Well, of course, the one that I nurture.
Unending love, amazing grace.